The hull screamed again. That was the fourth time in 30 minutes. Dalen Voss muttered something unprintable and slapped the control panel as if that might coax the ship into not falling apart. It didn't. Sparks popped from a frayed conduit above his head and singed the brim of his cap, which read, "I void warranties," in flaking white thread. Great. All I need now is a solar flare massage and a drink served in a broken helmet. The nav system, clearly insulted, displayed a pulsing red spiral, a gravitational anomaly from the moon below. Thessa 9. Not on any of the updated maps. Which wasn't surprising because Dalen hadn't updated his maps since the last time someone tried to charge him for it. The ship jerked like it had hit a cosmic speed bump, and then silence. The kind of silence that suggested either peace or death. The emergency systems kicked in with all the enthusiasm of a rusty blender. Dalen flipped a few switches, coaxed the thrusters, and punched the dash. Again. Still no thrust. With a groan, he engaged the landing protocol, which in his ship, the Rust Bucket Princess, translated to, "Find a flat spot and pray." Thessa 9 greeted him with jagged terrain, silver mist, and suspicious glowing plants that looked like they judged you when you passed. The ship landed hard, bouncing twice and skidding to a stop beside a blackened ravine. Dalen sat in the cockpit for a full minute, breathing, staring, and contemplating whether this was finally the trip that ended with him getting eaten by something with tentacles and poor dental hygiene. He stepped out in his patched exosuit, which whined in protest. The air was breathable, barely. The ravine below pulsed with energy on his scanner, some kind of irregular electromagnetic field. It wasn't natural. And Dalen had seen enough unnatural things in his life to know this felt wrong. Still, curiosity and the smell of melting insulation behind him urged him forward. He scrambled down into the ravine with all the grace of a man who hadn't stretched in 15 years and quickly found what had to be the source. Half buried in crystalline sediment was a ship. Sleek, organic curves, no sharp edges. Like someone had grown it, not built it. The surface shimmered like oil over pearl. He approached, touched the hull, and got a jolt up his arm that made him see colors he didn't have names for. Ow, friendly, very friendly. The ship, sensing his presence, reacted. A door hissed open, releasing a whisper of air and a smell like crushed mint and metal. Dalen stepped inside, flashlight sweeping. The interior pulsed with a soft bioluminescence, veins of light running through the walls. The architecture was bizarre, grown, not engineered. Nothing was labeled. Everything seemed to hum softly in a minor key. He followed the sounds deeper, where two pods stood cracked open, frost curling off them. Inside, two figures stirred. Humanoid, female, barely dressed in alien textiles that shimmered between states. Their ears were long and gently arched back, like stylized wings. Their skin was a muted lilac, marked with subtle biolines that pulsed to a rhythm Dalen didn't recognize. One of them sat up sharply, eyes locking on his. Her gaze was sharp, calculating. The other blinked sleepily, looked at Dalen, then at her sister, then muttered something musical that sounded like a question and a complaint. Hi, Dalen said, waving awkwardly. "I come in peace. Also unarmed, also lost and possibly concussed." The sharper one didn't move, the other yawned. Then a boot hit Dalen square in the chest. "Okay, language barrier, that's cool, I respect that." He stumbled back, hands raised. The sharper one said something clipped and fast. The other one giggled. Dalen activated his translator, which gave him a burst of static and a single word. "Meatbag." "Okay, rude." He pointed at the boot thrower, then at her sister, then at himself, miming repair work with exaggerated movements. The sisters exchanged glances. The boot thrower rolled her eyes. The giggler shrugged and beckoned. Inside the cockpit, it was clear the ship had suffered more than just a crash. Core systems were down. Something had chewed through auxiliary power, and half the data nodes were corroded. "Well," Dalen muttered, cracking his knuckles, "let's see if alien miracle ships like human bubble gum and desperation." He got to work, talking to himself the whole time. Okay, this is either a coolant line or a decorative vine. Let's not cut that. You know, I usually charge by the hour, but for you too, I'll accept not being disintegrated. One of the girls, the giggly one, followed him as he worked, pointing to things and miming wildly. He dubbed her Jaya after the ship's ID string. The other, more serious one stayed by the command terminal watching silently. Larry, he guessed. Jaya handed him tools, sometimes the wrong ones, sometimes on purpose. Once she gave him a spoon. Dalen took it with a deadpan nod and said, "Just what I needed to fix quantum shielding." Jaya howled with laughter, then mimicked him with exaggerated wrench twirling and mock electrocution. Hours passed. Systems flickered back to life. Life support re-engaged. The ship began to purr, not hum, but purr, like a cat basking in sunlight. Larry approached, offered a nod of acknowledgement. Dalen saluted with a grease-stained glove. Then the console sparked and the emergency lights flared red. Of course, Dalen sighed. Nothing says progress like the smell of burnt circuits. Jaya leaned over his shoulder, tapped the screen and made a face. The translator finally kicked in. Warning, primary communication beacon reinitializing. Dalen blinked. Communications, who the hell are we calling? Larry turned to him and said the first words he'd understand that day. Anyone who was hunting us. Dalen froze. Oh good, let's invite them to the housewarming party. He ran a hand down his face, looked at both sisters and grinned crookedly. Well, guess I'm not going anywhere soon. Mind if I stay a while? The ship's interior adjusted its lighting in gentle pulses, as if reacting to Dalen's heartbeat or mocking it. He couldn't tell which, probably both. The walls shifted subtly each time he walked by, like they were trying to decide whether he was furniture or infestation. Just saying, Dalen muttered, crouched under the communications terminal. If this ship eats me, I'm haunting every one of your descendants with clogged coolant tubes. Jaya peered down at him from upside down, her long ears twitching every few seconds like a cat deciding whether to pounce or nap. She held something in her hands, a cluster of glowing nodes resembling jelly beans stuck together with optimism and despair. Is that a power relay or a snack? He asked. Jaya grinned. Depends how much you hate your digestive system. Right, that's going in the do not chew pile. He pointed at a bowl nearby already filled with wriggling wires, suspiciously organic bolts, and something that had tried to bite him earlier. Larry entered with the kind of energy that suggested she had read 7 reports, planned an emergency response, and judged everyone in the room before breakfast. She spoke rapidly in Alaran, her tone sharp. Dalen held up a hand. Translation, please, preferably without the sarcasm module. Jaya laughed, then said, She says the beacon's initializing too fast. We need to slow it or mask it. Oh, perfect. We're leaking a galactic distress signal, and it's got express delivery. Great. Any way to throw a blanket over it? Jaya tilted her head. Is that a metaphor, or do you literally? No metaphor, mostly. Dalen scooted out from under the terminal, the ship grumbling in response. He stood, cracking his back like a glow stick. Okay, here's the plan. We isolate the beacon's primary node, reroute the output through a redundant system, like that pulsating sack of mucus in Corridor 4, and install a pulse dampener. I'll cobble one from my crash kit. Larry raised a brow. Jaya clapped, though Dalen wasn't sure if she was impressed or amused at the way he pronounced sack of mucus with such solemnity. He moved through the ship with Jaya in tow, dodging floor panels that shifted underfoot. In one corridor, a bioluminescent vine tried to wrap around his boot. He shook it off and grumbled, You touch me again. I'm installing a garbage chute in your ceiling. The sack of mucus, or, more accurately, a fleshy bulb filled with semi-organic coolant plasma, pulsated against the wall like a living heart. Dalen grimaced and reached for it with his multi-tool. Let it be known, he said, that I've fixed toilets in meteor storms, crawled through plasma ducts with live rats, and once welded a fuel chamber during a pirate raid. But this is the worst thing I've touched. Jaya handed him a glove, too late. The work was slow, made slower by the fact that the ship didn't like being patched with Earth-made tools. At one point, it emitted a sound that was either disdain or flatulence. Dalen responded in kind. While Dalen soldered the dampener core, Jaya sat beside him, mimicking his gestures with a piece of bent wire and humming off-key. He glanced at her. "You always this upbeat when you're possibly moments from being vaporized." She shrugged. "Larry worries enough for both of us." "Older sister. By 12 seconds. Dalen chuckled. "So you're the reckless one. I prefer spontaneous." The beacon's pulse shifted to a softer rhythm. Larry's voice came through the comm node, calmer this time. Jaya translated. "She says the dampener's working. Signals distorted enough to delay tracking." Dalen wiped his forehead. "Well, that buys us, what, 12 hours before someone mean and heavily armed drops in. 16 if they get lost. Nice time to throw a party." Jaya's eyes lit up. "We have party food, I think. Might also be laundry detergent." "Now you're speaking my language." They returned to the central chamber where Laurie had pulled up what looked like a holographic map of the surrounding system. Dalen squinted at the alien glyphs. "So, that's Thessa 9. That's where I crashed. That glowing red triangle with a skull symbol, I'm assuming that's bad." Laurie didn't answer. She zoomed in on a star system nearby. Jaya whispered, "She thinks the ones who sabotaged us were following. The beacon's pulse could wake them." Dalen scratched his head. "That's not good." "No, but we have you now." Jaya beamed. "Don't take this the wrong way, but I'm not exactly a soldier. You are fixer of sparks and rude machines." "Did you just promote me?" "Yes. Now fix the food dispenser. It's leaking blue slime." "I'm not a miracle worker, Jaya." Later, while trying to unjam the dispenser using a bent fork and strong words, Dalen asked, "Why were you two even out here?" "Diplomacy." "You don't look like diplomats." Jaya shrugged. "Larry was trained. I was just along so she wouldn't melt down halfway through peace talks." "Comfort sister." Backup sarcasm. "Well, you're a natural." Jaya leaned closer, lowered her voice. "Truth, we volunteered. We thought meeting humans would be exciting." Dalen blinked. "You crashed, nearly suffocated, got hunted. I'd call that exciting, sure." Jaya's smile dimmed. "We didn't expect kindness." He looked at her for a moment. Then, without thinking, he tossed her a wrench. She caught it. "What's this for?" "To pretend you're helping. Keeps morale up." The lights flickered. The ship purred again. Somewhere far above, stars shifted, watched, and waited. Dalen leaned back against the wall and let out a sigh. "Well, team," he said, "if we're gonna get hunted down by galactic assassins, we better at least fix the coffee unit first." Larry passed by, dryly adding something. Jaya translated. "She says if we don't, she's spacing you." Dalen grinned. "Still better than station food." Dalen stood in front of the ship's central core, arms crossed, staring at a panel that had just retracted into the wall on its own. For the third time, he reached out, poked the spot, and it retracted again with the petulance of a shy cat. "I swear this ship's trolling me," he muttered. Behind him, Jaya giggled, juggling 3 glowing spheres that floated just above her palms. They gave off a faint chirping sound and occasionally changed color when she winked at them. Larry ignored both of them, her focus locked on the command terminal where lines of glyphs scrolled across a translucent sheet of light. Her brow furrowed deeper with each flickering update. Dalen turned around, frustrated. "Your ship is temperamental. Did it come with a user manual or just passive-aggressive notes?" Larry replied without looking. "It is bonded to neural imprinting. It only obeys those it trusts." "Well, that explains everything. I once dated someone like that. Had to bribe her toaster to get breakfast." Jaya dropped one of the spheres, which squealed and hovered indignantly near her knee. "What's a toaster?" "Dangerous machine," Dalen said, dead serious. "Capable of incinerating bread and all dreams of a peaceful morning." Jaya turned to Laurie. "He's broken. Should we reset him?" "I'm standing right here." Larry tapped one final command and turned to face them. The ship's memory core is partially intact. Some of the diplomatic logs survived the crash. Dalen's smirk faded. Logs like recordings. Yes. Larry gestured and the center of the chamber lit up. A projection shimmered into view, a council chamber, tall vaulted with arching pillars of glass and light. Seated figures, Alaran elders, spoke with intense urgency in their fluid, harmonic language. A younger version of Larry stood among them, straight-backed, fierce, confident. She spoke with force, gesturing toward a star chart projected in midair. Jaya sat on the edge of a console, legs swinging, watching the memory unfold. Her voice dropped. This was the last session before we left. Larry convinced them. She believed humans could be reasoned with. Dalen nodded slowly, and the council agreed. Larry stepped into the projection, overlapping her younger self. They agreed, barely, but someone in that room sabotaged our departure. The guidance systems were tampered with, flight vectors randomized. We were lucky to crash. Jaya added, unlucky that we crashed here. Dalen looked between them. You think someone didn't want you reaching Earth? Larry deactivated the memory field. Not think. No, our comm logs were purged mid-flight, shields disabled. We were forced into emergency stasis just before impact. Dalen blew out a breath. And I thought my last cargo job was messy. At least my freight didn't include diplomatic betrayal and potential war. A long silence followed, broken only when the ship's floor vibrated softly, a reminder that systems were still recalibrating. Dalen sat down on a crate and rubbed his temples. All right, so here's the rundown. You were ambassadors sent to make peace, sabotaged mid-flight, crash here, nearly freeze, and I stumble along like a maintenance goblin and fix your plumbing. Jaya leaned forward, basically. And now the saboteurs are probably tracking your signal to finish what they started. Also accurate. Dalen tapped the side of his boot thoughtfully. You're gonna need more than a wrench and a charming grin to survive this. Jaya nodded solemnly. We have a half-working ship, one snack dispenser, and a sarcastic human. Wow, it sounds worse when you list it like that. Larry spoke up again, her voice measured. The memory core may hold more than logs. If we recover navigation data, we might be able to identify the saboteur's origin signature. You want me to rebuild an alien black box while fending off unknown hostiles and babysitting space twins? Jaya corrected him. We're older than you. Not by attitude, you're not. Larry's eyes narrowed. Can you do it or not? Dalen cracked his knuckles. You ever heard of the Farron Belt disaster? No. Good, that means I fixed it before anyone noticed. Let's find your saboteur. Hours passed as Dalen worked in the neural data chamber. Wires wrapped around his legs and diagnostic tools balanced in precarious piles. He jury-rigged a stabilizer using the remains of his flight nav from the Rust Bucket Princess, a spoon from the dispenser, and one of Jaya's chirping spheres, which now made a clicking sound every time he adjusted frequency. Why is it clicking? He asked. It's learning, Jaya said cheerfully. Dalen blinked. Learning what? She shrugged. Language pattern recognition, your favorite expletives. Fantastic. Can't wait for it to insult me in 3 languages. The core sparked, then steadied. The projection shimmered back to life, not a council chamber this time, but the ship's pre-launch systems. A ghostly figure in ceremonial armor leaned into the ship's interface. Larry and Jaya both stepped forward in recognition. That's Advisor Then, Larry whispered. The image showed him inserting a code, a hidden subroutine splicing through the nav systems, mutating coordinates. As the code executed, he glanced over his shoulder. His lips moved. Jaya's translator struggled, then stuttered out, "No peace with parasites." Dalen frowned. "Nice, racist and treacherous, a real ambassador for disaster." Larry's hands clenched. He was close to our family, trusted. Dalen slowly stood. "Now you've got a name, a face, and if I'm reading this right." He tapped the display, a return ping. He set a failsafe. If the ship reactivated, it would call back. Larry exhaled sharply. He knows we're alive. Dalen grinned without humor. Guess it's a party then. The ship trembled again, heavier this time. Warning signals blinked to life along the walls. Something's entering orbit, Jaya said, her voice tight. Larry checked the scans. One vessel cloaked, not a Laran. Dalen slapped the console. Time to prep for guests. Anyone have spare socks? Mine are currently sweating off my feet. Jaya nudged him. We still have blue slime cake. I'd rather be spaced. She offered it anyway. You might want energy. We'll need your sarcasm fully charged. Larry turned calm but fierce. Get ready. If we run, we do it together. If we fight. Dalen finished for her. Then I hope this ship knows how to throw a punch. The ship's defense system had opinions. Loud ones. Sirens howled in irregular patterns, consoles flashed warning glyphs in red and violet, and every few seconds the environmental lighting flickered like it couldn't decide whether to panic or throw a dance party. Dalen ducked as a ceiling panel hissed open and ejected a foam-covered drone that immediately tried to scan his face. Okay, calm down. He batted the drone away with a tool case. I don't need a retina massage right now. Larry stood at the command interface, hands moving rapidly through a cloud of light threads as she rerouted systems. Stealth vessel has entered low orbit. No IFF. No broadcast. Just silent and watching. Creepy and probably full of weapons. Dalen yanked a cable out of a wall port that was actively smoking. How stealthy can they be if we can feel them breathing down our necks? They're not trying to hide anymore, Jaya said, appearing beside him with a "For what?" Dalen asked. For us to make a mistake. Well, good news. I've made 7 since I woke up. Larry triggered a defensive protocol. Biolattice shields began to ripple around the hull, and plasma veins along the exterior glowed in a steady pulse. The ship's voice, cold and polite, announced in Alaran, target lock detected, minor external stress. Estimated time to full breach, 14 minutes. 14, Dalen shouted. That's barely enough time to screw something up heroically. We don't fight them, Larry said. Not yet, we escape. Dalen blinked. Escape? This ship is still running on bubble gum and panic. I haven't even balanced the reactor coils. I recalibrated them while you were repairing the dampener, Larry said. You recalibrated, Dalen paused. Okay, but did you do it the good way or the explodey way? I stabilized the gravity well within 0. 4% of quantum variance. That's the good way. Jaya tossed him a device. Also, we finished upgrading your translator. Now you can understand 74% of what we say. The remaining 26% is classified or embarrassing. That explains why you called me a bipedal toast fungus earlier. Larry moved toward the central column. Prepare for launch. But they'll track the energy surge, Dalen said. Even with the dampener, a full thrust burn will light us up like a fireworks parade. Then we don't use thrust. Jaya grinned, we slingshot. Dalen stared. Around what? Jaya tapped a schematic. That. The projection showed Thessa 9 moon core. Unstable, riddled with geothermal pressure and ancient tectonic fractures. The planet's internal M field flickered like a failing heart. Let me get this straight, Dalen said slowly. We're going to dive into a molten crust, ride an unstable energy pulse, and hope the resulting kick launches us out of orbit fast enough to escape a stealth ship full of assassins. Yes, Larry replied. Well, Dalen said, grabbing his toolkit, that sounds stupid enough to work. The sisters moved with fluid coordination, prepping systems while Dalen manually calibrated the gravity gyros with a wrench he swore had started growing moss. The ship groaned as pressure built. The cloaked vessel pinged them, a cold burst of signal with no message, just intent. Larry responded with silence. Dalen buckled into a seat beside the emergency override controls. All right, team. If this fails, I want my gravestone to say, he meant well. Jaya buckled in beside him. Mine should say, she warned you not to trust the ship's coffee unit. Larry didn't buckle in. She remained at the console. "No one's dying today." "That's very optimistic," Dalen muttered. "I like it. Probably wrong, but I like it." The engines powered down. The ship quieted. Then it dropped. Larry triggered the descent sequence, and Senvier dove like a hawk through the upper crust of Thessa 9. Friction screamed along the hull. Plasma built in arcs across the wings. Inside, the inertial dampeners struggled to keep pace. Dalen's stomach had several opinions, none of them polite. "I think my spleen just elbowed my lungs," he groaned. Jaya laughed, though she sounded slightly green. "First time through geothermal soup. I usually avoid crashing into planets on purpose." Larry called out readings. Energy well approaching, calculating exit angle. The ship twisted, rotated, and realigned to a narrow escape tunnel between tectonic folds. The cloaked vessel above sent a surge. A beam of light split the upper atmosphere. "They're firing," Dalen shouted. "Too slow," Larry replied. The ship hit the energy pulse. For a moment there was only white, not light, but absence. Then inertia snapped back, systems screamed, and the ship blasted out of the crust like a rocket-propelled bat fleeing bureaucratic paperwork. Alarms went off. Dalen whooped. Larry grinned. Jaya passed out for 3 seconds, then sat up and declared again. They didn't have time. The stealth ship had lost position but regained pursuit. It was now behind them, engines flaring. "All right," Dalen said. "I've got one last stupid idea." "No," Larry said. "You haven't heard it yet." "Still no." He showed her a schematic. "We drop part of the cooling grid behind us, reverse polarize the plating, then redirect the auxiliary venting through the side thrusters. We make it look like a double flare burst. They'll think we blew ourselves up trying to jump." Jaya clapped. "Boom magic." Larry stared, weighing the odds. "Do it." Dalen sprinted to the auxiliary junction. The ship tried to argue, briefly locking him out with an error message that translated to, "Please reconsider self-harm." He bypassed it with a wire and a snarky insult. Jaya helped him time the release. Larry angled the ship toward a gas cloud just beyond the planetary ring. 3, 2, 1. The ship ejected its cooling plates. The flare surged. On the scanners, the pursuing vessel slowed, confused. Inside the gas cloud, Senvier floated quiet dark. Dalen pressed his ear to the wall. "Did we win?" Jaya whispered, "They're scanning debris." Larry exhaled. "Hold position, silent." Minutes passed. The hostile ship drifted, then turned. Slowly, then vanished back into deeper space. Dalen finally relaxed, falling into his seat. "We live." Jaya tossed him a blue square. "Celebration cake." "No." Larry checked the readings. "We have 1 hour before our false trail decays. Then they'll know we escaped." Dalen stood. "Then we make it count. Where are we going?" Larry showed him a star system, distant, half-classified. An outpost, human, neutral, and possibly the last place they'd expect us. Jaya grinned. "Also rumored to have a dance bar and anti-grav milkshakes." Dalen nodded. "Sold. Plot the course. And someone please disable the ship's sarcasm generator. It's stealing my material." The ship docked with a hiss that sounded suspiciously like a sigh of relief. Dalen unbuckled and wobbled to his feet, trying to pretend his legs hadn't turned into loosely connected pool noodles during re-entry. Jaya handed him what might have been a congratulatory fruit bar or a dense block of mineral-rich engine paste. He ate it anyway. It tasted like regret and blueberries. They stepped onto the station, an old human outpost now converted into a trade hub with more flickering lights than working systems. A banner above the main concourse flashed. "Welcome," probably, in 3 languages and 1 blinking emoji that looked vaguely concerned. Larry was already scanning the crowd, her posture rigid, calculating. Jaya wandered off toward a kiosk selling something that screamed and changed color when touched. Dalen stayed in the middle, realizing for the first time in a long time that he didn't have an immediate problem to fix or a bolt about to explode near his head. "So," he said, "we're fugitives, technically diplomats, and may or may not be dead in the official Ilaran records." Larry nodded. A perfect position for negotiations. Do we even know who to talk to? Jaya returned with something wriggling in a bag. I made a friend. The station's central AI flickered to life on a pedestal nearby. It looked like a cube with one mechanical eye and a voice that sounded like it had smoked sandpaper. Welcome to Dockpoint 12. Current status, neutral. Temperature, questionable. Air quality, legally acceptable. Purpose of visit. Dalen raised a finger. Fleeing interstellar conspiracies and seeking interspecies diplomatic redemption. The AI processed that for 2 full seconds. Accepted. Please do not attempt to barter with the station's trash compactors. They are unionized. Larry uploaded a data shard to the terminal. The memory logs everything they'd salvaged, including the footage of Advisor Then's sabotage, began to sync with Earth's relay network. It would take days to propagate, maybe weeks, but it was done. The proof existed. Dalen leaned on the pedestal. That's it then, you're exposed, the truth's out. Larry nodded. Now we wait. And if Then comes back with more ships? Jaya shook her wriggling bag. We throw snacks at them. Dalen glanced sideways. Just how weaponized are your snacks exactly? Jaya winked. You don't want to know. The next hours passed in bursts of bureaucratic drudgery and weirdly satisfying vending machine coffee. A human envoy eventually arrived. A junior ambassador who looked like he'd been given this assignment as punishment for crashing a drone into someone's birthday cake. He listened to Larry's account, watched the footage, and turned to Dalen with a blank expression. You're the mechanic who fixed an alien peace ship with chewing gum, sarcasm, and leftover ship parts. Dalen sipped his coffee. You left out spite. Spite was a critical component. The envoy blinked, then nodded. We'll begin proceedings, but you know this isn't over, right? There'll be political fallout. Larry crossed her arms. Let it fall where it belongs. Dalen stayed silent until the envoy left. Then he turned to the sisters. You've got backup now. You don't need me anymore. Jaya tilted her head. Don't we? He gestured toward the ship. You've got a repaired vessel, a functioning AI, a galactic relay of proof, and a vendetta that could power a small moon. You don't need a grease monkey with questionable hygiene. Larry watched him for a long second. You're wrong. Jaya nodded. You don't just fix ships, you fix things that are broken. That sounds like a compliment, he said, suspicious. It's a job offer, Larry replied. You want me to stay? Jaya pointed at him. You helped us survive. And made us laugh. Also, you figured out how to make the food replicator stop printing shoes. I thought you liked the loafers. They were edible but judgmental. He looked between them. You're serious. You want to keep the human on board. Larry gave him the faintest smile. We've already adjusted the command interface to respond to your swearing. Jaya beamed. We renamed the ship's core system after you. It now answers to Captain Wrenchface. Dalen groaned. That better not be in the official logs. It is. He paused, thought about the long hours in empty ports, the silence of traveling alone, the way stations passed by without anyone remembering his name. Then he looked at these 2 alien sisters who had nearly been killed by their own people, who still chose hope and jokes and dangerous food. He took a long breath. I'll stay, but only if we repaint the outside of the ship. Something bold, like diplomatic immunity in flaming letters. Jaya squealed, yes. Larry nodded, agreed. As the trio walked back to the ship, still bruised, still battered but alive and free, Dalen felt a strange sensation bloom in his chest.